the world champion.
September 7th.
And I am the baddest bitch in this building.
WOW, the women of wrestling are back for the attack.
My name is Tessa Blanchard. I am the born legend. I'm the WOW World Champion. Anytime that I step in that ring, it doesn't matter who my opponent is, I'm fearless. I fear nobody.
You're only the champ because I let you.
Back up, back up.
My name is the Beast. I am a full-speed, hard-hitting freight train. If you happen to be standing on that track, it's your problem, not mine.
I am Faith the Lioness. The biggest threat for me this season would be Tessa Blanchard, but lions don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep.
My name is Jessie Jones. I tell it like it is, and I do what it takes. And to some people, they can't take that.
And I'm gonna make wrestling great again.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Until you're falling for me. You're falling for me. You're just around the bend, but not for long. 'Cause you'll be falling for me.
You're not the only one with a name and a legacy attached to. I'm Teal Piper.
When the Psycho Sisters heard that WOW was gonna have a tag team tournament to crown the first tag team champions, we knew those belts are as good as ours.
Yeah, you'll be falling for.
Oh, Firebuster! Anything could happen. They all won the WOW Championship. Here we go. WOW! Women of Wrestling.
An all-new season of WOW, Women of Wrestling premieres Saturday, September 7th. Part of the Saturday Slam on AXS TV.
Thank you for having me on this call today. And Sean and Cindy from AXS TV, thanks for all your logistics. I don't know how you do it. I got enough problems figuring out how to put a call on hold and answer another one. That said, all of you, thank you for participating and being engaged in WOW Women of Wrestling. We're excited to launch on Saturday night as part of AXS TV's Saturday Slam competition and broadcast, the second season on AXS TV of WOW Women of Wrestling. The debut will happen at 8 o'clock East Coast time on AXS TV. It's a dynamic hour of power, I call it, featuring WOW and its WOW Superheroes. And it'll all take place from Los Angeles at the Belasco Theater. These events will play through, I think, the first weekend of December. I don't have each of the dates, but consecutively. And then a second set of these season programs will commence thereafter, I believe, in January. We'll take a break for the holidays. So, as many of you know, last year we welcomed Tessa Blanchard, easily the best in the industry, to WOW Women of Wrestling. And this year we're very excited and thrilled to welcome Teal Piper to WOW Women of Wrestling. And Teal is on the call today, and we couldn't be more happy with her involvement in our company. And I'll let her take it from there.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone.
Wow, you know, people seem surprised to see me here. They're confused as to what my intentions with WOW are. Well, please, allow me to elaborate. You see, I am going to be the one fanning the flames of the fire. I will be the thorn in Lioness's paw. I will be the one unlocking the cage and releasing the beast. And I will be the one squeezing the ring of the Bishop of WOW into my own personal blood diamond. You see, I'm Teal Piper, and I'm too much fun to slay.
An all-new season of WOW Women of Wrestling premieres Saturday, September 7th on AXS TV.
Okay. I can answer questions, Sean? Do you already have a
Yeah,
question?
sure. Yeah, we have a few questions we have queued up as we figure out the logistics here. Teal, the first question for you comes from Mike Hughes with TV America. and he says that you seem to be performing and finding the spotlight quite easily, and so he'd like to know a little bit more about how far back you go as a performer and what you wanted to do when you were growing up.
Wow. So my whole life, I've always wanted to perform, and I think obviously my father was a big part of that. I really admired how international he was. You know, you could name a town in any city or any country in the world, and he would know like where to go to get good food there, and like have attended a party there, and all. You know, he just like knew somebody everywhere, and I just thought that was so interesting, and you know, that whole lifestyle I thought was really exciting. So of course the first thing I do is I moved to LA to become an actress and realized that you can't leave LA ever. So it kind of backfired in that sense. But so I don't remember a time where I didn't like look up to that, and you know, and just watching him perform. And you know, he was also a great actor and a great musician. A lot of people don't know that about him. So I had a lot of that influence from an early age. It was that, or I also wanted to be Indiana Jones, but I guess I went the other way.
Great. And a follow-up question is he'd like to hear what you thought of women in wrestling when you were growing up. He says that you've told the story about making a comment about one of them to your dad and him getting mad and breaking a table. I think that was in a recent interview you did. And so we'd like to hear more about that, maybe how old you were at the time and what you think of women's wrestling in retrospect.
Well, back then I was probably, I'm going to guess around 15 years old when that happened. And I just remember it as one of those defining, because I was a pretty good child. You know, my parents loved me. I was pretty easy. So it was one of those rare moments where my dad like got mad at me. And so it really like stuck out at me. But you know, it was a time in wrestling where women were really accessories to the men. And, you know, they had them looking more like porn stars than, you know, like legitimate, respectable athletes. And so, and I was at an age where, you know, I was very rebellious and just kind of being a little bit more feministic about everything. And so I had made a snotty comment. I can't even remember what the comment was, but just sort of like an eye roll towards the women in wrestling at the time. And he got furious at me, and he slammed his hands down on the table and broke it and just was going off about how hard those women work and how they have to be twice as talented as any guy in wrestling and work twice as hard and they get paid so little, you know. And it was just like, at the time it was a little scary. I was like shutting up, but it was very, you know, it was definitely a foot in the mouth moment for me where I didn't realize what the women had gone through, and that's kind of when it like opened my eyes. And in more recent years, it's just grown such a wonderful way. And the more I see women in wrestling developing and becoming such main event stars, you know, competing right up there with the boys, the more I wanted to be involved with it. So, I mean, this whole movement has really been a big part of why I felt like this is a time in my life to join.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, our next question also about your father here comes from Jonathan Snowden with Bleacher Report. And he says you had a chance when working on the book to really dig deep into your dad's career. Was there any hesitation about joining the wrestling business after that?
Oh, I mean, I think I had hesitation long before the book. In a weird way, I felt more inspired connecting with his life in that way. I mean, there was a lot that I learned about him, and, you know, I met people that I had always heard about, but I had never physically met or talked to on the phone or anything. So it was very, in a weird way, spiritual for me, I guess I should say. And so, if anything, I think that book made me more inspired because I knew a lot of the bad stuff of wrestling. You know, growing up with a heel as a dad, especially in the 80s, like, you know, like I wasn't blind to the fact that his fans tried to kill him. I mean, even my own brother got stabbed in the back by a fan not that long ago, and that's, you know, that's recent. And so when I look at that, like I was aware of the dirtier side of wrestling, and my dad was just always on guard. And so I think the book really made me see his love for the sport that he had at an early age that I wasn't around for, and how much passion he had. And that, I think, if more than anything, inspired me to go forward into wrestling rather than make me afraid to enter it.
Okay, so Teal, so prior to announcing your entry into the wrestling world, you were a rising singer-songwriter. So do you still plan on pursuing that path?
Yes, actually, I have my next single being released October 1st called Anonymity. Amber Eyes is on iTunes now. And I think, again, that's something I get from my family. Like, I'm very creative, and I don't like to limit myself to one thing in life. I definitely plan on continuing down that path, but right now wrestling is coming first and foremost. I think it's something that I just need to be focused on and need to be doing. But, you know, I pretty much do everything I want to do when I want to do it.
And then also in terms of the family legacy, a lot of people have referred to MJF as the next Roddy Piper. Is that something that you like to hear?
Who are these people? I want names. How dare they? No, MJF I think he's a very talented, awesome wrestler. I love to watch him, but there's never going to be another Rowdy Roddy Piper, and I think it discredits my dad as well as him. I mean, he's very much his own character, and he has his own legend that he's building, you know, and I've never been a fan of people being like, this person's the next this or that. It's like, you know, give him the credit he deserves. But no, there's never going to be another Rowdy Roddy Piper, and that includes myself. Like, he was one in a lifetime. I don't know how to explain that.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
A couple questions for Teal and then also David. Thank you all so much. Teal, what has Ronda Rousey meant to you and your family?
Ronda, for me personally, I wasn't a huge MMA fan until she came on the scene, and I just fell in love with her. And regardless of training with judo Jean LaBelle, you know, and coming from the same fighting family that my father came from, I just loved what she was doing for MMA. So I was already like on her team when she came into the light. And I was actually in the room when she was talking to my dad and about using the name Rowdy and back for MMA years ago. So as far as knowing her personally, I only met her for the first time at WrestleMania this year. But I've really been honored that she has wanted to pay such a tribute to my dad, and I think it's really, really cool of her, and it is really neat to see the Rowdy name main eventing, but for the first time as women at WrestleMania last year. That was just really, really neat. But at the same time, I also feel like that's a big part of why I wanted to go with WOW, is they've had women doing that for years. You know, women of wrestling have been their main event for years, and so that's why I felt like I should go with that direction right now.
And Teal, have you trained with your brother in pro wrestling? And any thoughts, if you haven't, working with him someday?
Well, we don't live in the same state right now. We are constantly trying to get together to train. The last time I did see him, we had a few drinks with the family, and then he gave me some of the first chops I've ever had. It was before I started training with WOW, and let me tell you, that was an eye-opener, and he had no sympathy as my brother. He just let me have them. So he's giving me a lot of pointers over the phone, and, you know, every time we do see each other, you know, he mostly, like, gets in, like, the underground, like, old-school knowledge that he's, you know, like, I don't know if somebody's told you about this or that, because he's just been trained by so many cool people. I'd say one of my big dreams in wrestling at some point down the road would be to talk him into tag teaming with me and being a brother-sister tag team. Hopefully he gets back into it at some point. I'm not sure. I think he wants to, though. I think he's getting inspired by my new love for it.
And David, do we know when we will see Teal Piper on WOW on AXS TV? Because I know the new season's coming up.
Yes, you'll see her in episode 11 or 12 on this upcoming season, and then throughout the season that's being taped this fall for delivery in January.
And also, David, you all signed some new superheroes, including Teal, and one from South Florida, where I am in Miami, Adrenaline, Diamante, Angel Rose. What can you say about?
Well, Adrenaline is a fabulous addition to WOW. She'll be featured this year. She's going for the Tag Team Championship. She'll be joining forces with a wrestler that performs in her real name, Kiera Hogan, in Impact. And for us, because when I met her, I said, "You're a Spitfire," and I laughed. I said, "Your name should be Fire." and so she is. She's fire, Kiera Hogan. And they will be going up against several competitors in this year's tag team tournament within the WOW episodes. And I think when we talk about the first episode that airs on Saturday night, September 7th, 8 o'clock Eastern, because many of you participating in this call today are really, truly wrestling historians, and you know your wrestling knowledge, I think you're going to enjoy a segment that's in this opening program on Access where we pay tribute to the women's tag team titles of the past. I mean, we literally go back to the 1950s with Mae Young and Ella, I hope I have the pronunciation, it's, I think, Ella Wilder. And we go through Tony Rose, Donna Cristiella, Joyce Grable, Vicki Williams, all the way up to the Jumping Bomb Angels. And I think for wrestling historians, it's great that we're able and afforded the opportunity through Pro Wrestling Illustrated and some others for licensing us footage to pay tribute to those ladies that paved the path for the success that women are achieving today in wrestling. And I think everyone would like that.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, Jim. All right, our next question is going to come from Najir Chambers. Najir, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
All right. So my first question is for Teal. So you do have a busy couple of weeks coming up in your professional wrestling career, and one being your debut at WOW, which is going to be on September 18th. I guess a little soft opening question for you is, who do you have your eyes set on? Now, I did see the vignette package, which it seems kind of like you aiming for the champ right away, but I want to hear from you exactly. Who is it that you have your eyes set on?
I got to say right now, I'm really having fun with the wrestling thing, and I just kind of want to get in there and just mess up some things for the girls, to be honest. I have my eyes set on so many people. There's some great girls there like Steffi Slays and Faith the Lioness who are just awesome talent that I would love to work with, but also I'm not sure they're ready to deal with my personality in the ring. We shall see. I would love and also be terrified to have a match with the Beast. I think she is awesome and very epic, and if nothing else, I can unlock the cage she's in and just let her loose. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's like one of my goals down the road. We'll see how that goes. She's no joke in the ring. So.
And Teal, you mentioned when we were at Access, which I loved. You said you were going to be the thorn possibly in the lioness paw.
Yes, in typical
also,
Piper fashion.
Yes, and I don't think that the born legend Tessa Blanchard appreciated when you were patting her on her head and giving her some definitely rowdy comments. I don't think she'd ever been spoken to in that manner before. So I got to tell all of you on the phone, Teal has inherited her dad's wit and skill on a microphone, and she can tear up anyone very quickly. And I've seen it in action, and she is great. And so to all the talent in WOW, I'll put out the warning. They better watch out if Teal Piper wants to get rowdy with them.
Yeah. Oh, Tessa. That cracked me up because I literally, when I was petting her on the head, was like, I'm surprised she hasn't tried to hit me yet.
I think she wants to, but she's waiting for the ring action to begin.
Clever girl.
So you obviously you're training at WOW. How has the experience training with a legend in her own right with Selena Majors?
Oh, Selena Majors is, I mean, she's a legend as far as women in wrestling go. I mean, she was back in the days where, I mean, right now everything's like set up for me to walk in as a female wrestler, and it's like a great time. But, you know, she worked back in the days when it was like, you would fight tooth and nail to get any, you know, as much recognition as the guys got. And so I have so much admiration for her, and she has just been incredible to train with. And yeah, I don't know how to say. As soon as I started training with her, I knew I wanted to be a part of WOW. I mean, I appreciated the company and everything they did with women and stuff. But as soon as I got to that training center, I was like, I like it here. This is awesome. And it's just really neat. And I feel very honored, to be honest, to be able to train with her.
That's awesome. And I guess this question is going to be for the two of you guys. Now, David, it was a pleasure to speak with you at San Diego Comic-Con. And you did leave the interview giving me a bite saying that you had a really big surprise, and it legit gave me chills because knowing the mastermind you are, I knew it was going to be something big, and in fact, signing Teal Piper is indeed that. I want to know how the recruitment process was because I mean you brought in some of the biggest and brightest stars into WOW, but Teal is absolutely on a whole nother level here. But I would like to know for the two of you guys, how was that recruitment process for you?
Well, it was fortunate and blessed in the fact that we share a friend of the industry, and Barry Bloom, who's been an agent that's represented many talent throughout the last few years, including, he started in wrestling with Jesse Ventura, and he represented Triple H and X-Pac and many other stars throughout the industry. And he is a personal friend of Teal's dad and Teal, of course. And he called me up one afternoon and said, David, here's a unique situation. Teal's interested in getting into wrestling. We've discussed this, and I think it might be a great fit. And that was all it took, was a phone call. And I said, well, have Teal come down to the training center and meet Selena Majors and meet the WOW Superheroes and see if, in fact, there's a fit, if she likes how our company, the atmosphere and the camaraderie of WOW. And fortunately, it's all worked out for the best. So it was really not a recruitment. It was just a blessing that we both share a mutual friend.
Yeah, I basically just showed up to the WOW Training Center and refused to leave, and then eventually they started feeding me and housing me, and I've been there ever since.
Thank you so much for your time.
So I was calling. My questions kind of circle back on Rhonda a little bit. Teal, I know she wears your dad's jacket to the ring. Is that something you want back, or are there other jackets? Or do you not plan on using your dad's style?
I will not be wearing my dad's gear, if that's what you're wondering. As far as getting anything back, I promise our family will have everything of his at some point, so I'm not worried about that. I'm very honored, like I said, that she wanted to wear it in the ring, and I think it's very cool. Me personally, that's the same jacket my dad put on me as like a 5-year-old, so like I have such a sentimental appreciation for all of his stuff. I would feel weird wearing it into the ring, and more than that, I think especially as his kid, it's a bit in your face to just be showing up in his gimmick. I want to be my own person, so while I'll have my costume will have nods to him, it's definitely not going to be the same style that you see Ronda Rousey in.
Okay. And David, my question for you is, what are the biggest changes that you wanted to have made between this last season and this season of WOW? And also, I didn't know if you'd maybe gotten any feedback from AXS TV's owner, Mark Cuban, about what he liked and disliked.
In terms of differences, there's not much production-wise, but there will be a clear one when you look at the audience and the spectators that are now coming to the WOW events. And maybe it's more because I'm in the forest, I've seen it. But we've seen a gradual, but it's very noticeable on this upcoming season that starts on the 7th. There's a lot more women coming to WOW events, and there's a lot more kids coming. And the first 2 rows, I was amazed, was just filled with kids at last event. And to me, that's what's been missing in wrestling. I go to some of the other promotions, and I go to their events, or I'll fly to a city to see one of their pay-per-views, and you see a male-driven audience. And in WOW, you see a real family-driven audience. And we've got the kids, and that's when I got interested and loved wrestling, when I was a kid. And I see that in WOW. So I think you'll notice that on the screen. And in terms of the performances and the talent, maybe I don't notice it, but the editors tell me and people that were at the live event tell me everything's just been elevated. And I say it with being very humble. I believe we have the best wrestling show on television. And a year ago, I would have told you the best women's promotion on television. But when it starts on AXS TV on the 7th, and you watch this series, I told you last year about the Beast was a phenom. I'm telling you this year, I believe the product is the best wrestling product on television. And I don't say that with an ego boasting. I say that with full confidence and being humbled in saying it.
Well, Teal, David, thank you guys so much for the call today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is going to come from Wrestling Epicenter. Are you there?
All right, well, I have a question for both David and Teal, so I will begin with David. I just wanted to address WOW in its first incarnation for a minute, because it seemed like the goal at that time in the early 2000s was to make it to, say, pay-per-view. As one wrestler called it, it was the promised land for pro wrestling. But we all know that the landscape has changed significantly since then. Do you have any short-term goals / hurdles that the WOW is looking to tackle going into 2020 and beyond?
When we started WOW, our initial goal was to build out its platforms for social media. And even though the company had WOW Women of Wrestling in various versions on all its social media, we had to strip those out and start from literally scratch and put everything under one brand name. Many people told me I was stupid because I was giving up 50,000 fans on certain platforms. And I said, if we don't do it then, we'll be in bad shape 3 to 5 years from now. So everything's under WOW Superheroes. And we've created a platform to which now we can, with an establishment vis-a-vis AXS TV, grow WOW digitally. And so that's the opportunities that Jeannie Buss and I are looking at right now. We hope to be with AXS TV for quite a while. We wouldn't have started or gotten this far without Mark Cuban and Andrew Simon jumping in the pool with us. And if they didn't, believe me, you even see it with other wrestling leagues. It's not easy to get a wrestling company on television. If it was, there'd be a lot more people doing it. So the goal, as you noted, what's our goal? Our goal is to grow the brand digitally so that more people, more eyeballs can see it, and also internationally. And so those will be the efforts that will start to take place and roll out in 2020. Oh, and there's one more goal, definitely in terms of Jeannie Buss. She really wants to see WOW touring and live events in different cities. And we haven't done it yet because I've grown up in the wrestling business knowing how difficult that is to go city to city. And we're not there yet to go do it and make it sustain itself. So for now, it's not really a traditional wrestling company that's going city to city and pushing out content. We're developing it. We're doing what AXS TV did with New Japan Wrestling. We're slowly fertilizing the ground and developing the brand so that when we do it, it will be successful, just as they did when they brought New Japan to Long Beach a year ago.
The second question is a 1A for Teal.
Yes.
You already talked about the Piper's Pit thing, and your father being a great talker is one of the hallmarks of his career. Are we going to expect you to produce anything similar in the land of WOW? And secondly, and I guess either one of you can answer this, how long will it be before you gold/convince Jeannie Buss to get into the ring?
Well, As far as if I will be bringing anything similar to WOW, I can't go into too many details right now, or David will probably yell at me. But I'm just kidding. He's such a nice guy. But I would like, as far as my own personal goals, I love being on the mic and I love stirring the pot, so it does feel like a natural position for me to end up in. And then as far as Jeannie Buss, I actually haven't had the pleasure of meeting her yet. I'm a big fan, seeing as I'm now employed by her. But no, I am a big fan of hers, and I would love to get her in the ring. That would be fun. I'll just leave her in for now.
I'll give
trick
you
her.
guys a little heads up. Now, Cindy, I'm not going to tell what's really coming, but it will be out, I guess, next Tuesday or Wednesday?
On Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, there will be something coming out from AXS TV, and Jeannie Buss will be in the ring. Jeannie Buss, it's her first steps in the purple trademark ring of WOW Women of Wrestling, and Cindy will be releasing that next Wednesday. So there's a scoop for all of you.
That's a good tease.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's exciting. I swear I didn't make her do it against her will, guys. It's all on her own.
We all got the scoop for it. Thanks a lot, guys.
All righty.
All right, thanks, Brian. Okay, our next question is going to come from Matt D. Matt, are you there?
I am.
All right, you're on.
Great. I had a question for Teal and for David. For Teal, second-generation superstars wrestlers tend to have a bit of an expectation that comes with the name or their lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at a WOW champion like a Tessa Blanchard, who has accomplished quite a bit since her career started, is it something you're aware of that concerns you, or are you just going in and hitting the ground, running and doing your own thing?
I'd say a little of both. I'm the kind of person that always just doesn't think about these things and just goes and has fun and tries not to think too hard about it, because I think if you live in that stigma, then you're planning for failure. But yeah, I mean, obviously they're big shoes to fill, and nobody's going to fill them. I'm just trying to make my own footprints here. But there's some legacy kids that do really well, and there's definitely a stigma of, it's almost an eye roll for some people when the kids get into the business. And I try not to think about it. Am I trying to be my dad? No, I'm not. But I recognize that I am his kid, and I hope to make my own footprints for my kid to stress over someday.
And I know you briefly mentioned your in-ring style you're still learning. Is there maybe a specific style or one or two things that you're leaning towards as your in-ring training progresses?
Cheating? Is that a style? No, I mean, I'm not really joking there. I can hear my dad calling from heaven being like, cheat, Ariel, you're 34 years old. You cheat. You're only... as far as style, like I said, I'm really picking up. I think that you'll see a lot of Selena Major style, because obviously the trainers you work with have a big influence on you, and then you kind of take it and make it your own. I'm sure I'll have some of my dad's style just from picking up things from him over the year, and some of the people that trained my brother and that type of thing. But I'm still really exploring. I don't want to pigeonhole myself and tell you like, oh, I'm going to have this specific style, because I'm not. I'm still learning as an entertainer and as an athlete, and I think you do that till the day you die. I think anybody who stops trying to improve themselves usually gets a shorter career. So, I don't want to pigeonhole myself, but I think I'm still learning, what my style is going to be, other than to go in there and have fun, which is really my game plan.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Man, my question for David, and David, I was a fan of the original iteration of WOW and this one. You talked about Jeannie Buss wanting to tour the brand. Maybe not that, but has there been any thought to maybe doing a one-time trip to a New York or a Florida, because the scene out everywhere is up and popping. Maybe not touring, but going to a Chicago, going to New York and doing a one-time or weekend event there.
We did do an event in South Carolina or North Carolina a year ago, and we did do an event appearance somewhere else. But in terms of a live event with all the WOW spectacle that is event that's shown at the Belasco Theater, not yet, because we've had offers by 2 big touring companies, and we even had financial deposits put down. And I just didn't think that the recognition of the brand was yet established enough. And I think we need this next season on television and the brand to grow more. These buildings are very expensive to go to. And when you get into union labor and lighting and cost, you're into a few $100,000 to turn the building's keys on. And you've got to be ready for that. And I don't want any third parties to go out prematurely bringing the brand out. We've got a long-term vision, and we're bullish on we will be successful, but we're doing it methodically and slowly to make sure this thing sustains itself and lasts. And secondly, we're learning what talent performs and what talent resonates and what the fans want. And I think that's all an element of taking it out on the road, if you will. I grew up in wrestling, so I know what it is to take it out city to city, and we're just not ready yet.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Just kind of one other question, and thank you all for the time. David, your talent roster in WOW is pretty stacked. But looking at women's wrestling as a whole, there's a lot of talent out there. Has there been any thought given to like maybe bringing like a standout wrestler that's on the independent scene in for WOW for like a one-shot match or like a special feature?
No, because the two big performers that I would love to have engaged in WOW currently are under contract at the WWE, so we're not going to get them. And from the independent wrestling that's out there, city to city and state to state, the answer is no. We have the best women's wrestling talent in a form of a group or as a whole wrestling for WOW. There's 2 individuals I'd love to have, but, they're in WWE and have long-term successful contracts with them. So the answer is no.
Okay, thanks so much, David. I appreciate it. Teal, thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you.
If anyone has any more follow-up questions, please feel free to let me know. David, we got a couple questions here that was sent in by Darren Paltrowitz. He had to jump off.
Okay.
He wants to know, at what point did you realize that glow was actually influential and not just a fine piece of nostalgia?
I'm going to answer that question in 1 second. Give me one moment.
Sure.
I think the answer to that question is the moment I was doing it, I recognized it. And I say that again with being all humble. That when I was doing it, I knew it was something special at the time, and I knew that it would have a place that would be memorable. And I don't know how I knew that. I didn't know the future. I didn't know I was going to leave the company. But I just knew it when I was doing it. No one knows the real story of Glow. No one. And Netflix has a show on that's very successful, and I think the writers get all the kudos for capturing the essence of the sisterhood of the women that tried out for Glow. But no one knows the true story of what it took to even get the thing up and get it going, in the business and everything that went on with it. And subsequently, I was just fortunate enough and blessed to know I was doing something special when I was actually doing it.
Fantastic. And this will be our last question for you, and I think it's a good one to end on. David, has there been a wow moment that makes you most proud so far? And then separately, is there an accomplishment you're most proud of?
Wow, what a question to hit me with. Usually I'm not tongue-tied.
It's a loaded question.
Tell me the question one more time, Sean, just so I get it exactly.
Sure. Has there been a wow moment that makes you most proud so far?
There's many of them, so I don't want to discount one by saying one in particular. But this goes back to what Cindy and you are going to release next Wednesday. My proudest moment. I get choked up.
Aw.
When Jeannie Buss got in the ring, and you'll see what she did in the ring next Wednesday, that was one of my proudest moments. What took place in the ring with Jeannie Buss is a proud moment. And you'll all get to see why next Wednesday when AXS TV reveals what that is.
All right. Well, that will do it for us today. Thank you, everyone who joined us for this great call.
Yeah, it's 87 minutes in. We can't thank you enough. The stories were, your questions were incredible. And Teal and David, thank you so much for those thoughtful answers.